Hey guys, what is up? Kyle here with Colossus Gaming, and this is the first time I've uploaded a video of Rust. It will be... Sorry, there's this guy staring at me and it's creeping me out. I'm just...
Go away.
Go away?
Go away.
This is the first thing I would suggest you don't do, because this is going to be a new player's guide for noobs at this game. Yay. Okay, so there's an example of #1 thing not to do. When people point a gun at you and tell you to go away, do not run at them with a rock, because the rock is incredibly slow and you will die. #2 thing you should do is, if you see backpacks, pick them up. Perfect example. I happen to spawn near backpack. Bandages are very useful. I've played this game for 3 days. I got my hands on a beta key, alpha key actually. And it's a pretty awesome game, except I noticed it's really hard to start out as a new player and do things correctly. So here's another example of what you don't want to do when you first start out. This is a big, obvious house, and if I was going to rate a house, I would rate a house like this. Whereas, say you walk farther into the woods and you hide a little teeny 2x1 house under some trees, like right here, it would be hard to notice, especially if this was in the middle of the woods. And it's better for a new player, because when you first start you don't have the resources to defend a base like this, and you can't make metal doors, and wooden doors can be bashed down easily. So that's a really good tip. Don't make a big base right off the bat, just make a teeny little thing hidden in the woods. Now another tip is, if you see like hangars like this, or like a factory, something that looks like it wasn't player made, it's a spawn building, and it's here at spawn, and they're often in radiated zones, and if you go on there, there's cool loot in chests that randomly spawns, and you'll also find zombies. Now zombies are important, very important, because they are one of the ways to gain tech. And as I can show you here, if we go to crafting, I did just start out on this server, like I deleted all my items, but I still have tech because I played this server before. Like I can craft a bunch of like different stuff: metal doors, large wood storages, paper, large medkit, small medkit, P250, MP5, M4, the pickaxe, leather boots, rad suit boots. So I've learned a little bit. I've only played this server for a couple days. And so when you kill zombies, you can get something called a research kit, which allows you to reverse engineer any item you find in the game. So for example, say I pick up this bandage and I can't make bandages, which you can by default, but say I couldn't make bandages, I could use the research kit with a piece of paper and a workbench, and I would be able to make that bandage. So any item you ever get, you can make, and that's how I got all this tech pretty much. You also get items from zombies, like that's how I got the M4 to learn how to make the M4. And you can get blueprints, which is very important. It's the same thing as a research kit, except it's good for one item. So like you might get the blueprint for an MP5, and then you'll be able to make MP5, but you'll still need to be able to craft the ammo and everything. So getting good in this game, getting good items, takes a while. Getting good is a whole different story. So another example, this base. This is a really crappy base. Was this where I was just... No. I was just showing you guys that example, though. I'm confusing myself. So as you get better and you get friends, maybe, that's when you can make a bigger base. Like I play this game with my other friend, and we got a decently sized base because we have metal doors and we're not too afraid of being raided. It's not big enough to draw attention. Like if we had a massive tower or something, that's more likely to get raided, because when a player sees that, he knows that you have a lot of resources, you spend a lot of time building it, so you've been playing a long time. So he just assumes you have a lot of items. Like this is a cool house. It looks like a legit house, and somebody would probably raid that. I would raid that if I had items to raid it with. So first thing, definitely, I mean, it depends on how long you want to take. You can make a shack like this and just put a door on it, hide it in the trees somewhere, but you can destroy shacks really easily. I would suggest just making a foundation and 4 walls and a door if you're alone, or a 2x1 if you're not, and that's good for storing your items for the first few hours you play. You'll eventually be able to expand, but you'll have more security, and you'll have a place to keep your resources until then. I remember the first time I started playing, I went out, tried to make a big house right away, and I was gathering resources for like 4 days straight. So I didn't like have any sort of protection or anything, and I had my house almost done and I got killed and I couldn't find my way back to where I was because I didn't have a sleeping bag. Which brings me to my next tip. Sleeping bags, very important. As soon as you get 20 cloth, craft a sleeping bag, because anywhere you place your sleeping bag, you will spawn there. So it's very important. I mean, you can kind of guesstimate where, you just follow the road and you can kind of guesstimate where your house was. But if you die, it kind of sucks if you get lost, because I experienced that the hard way. And that's why I would suggest making a smaller place just to store your stuff at first. So tip number 1, this is the first most important thing, getting a small base hidden well. Tip number 2, avoid players, especially if you see guns, like if they don't have a rock in their hand. If they're coming towards you, they're acting aggressive, just avoid them. If you see like a player off in the distance, don't walk towards them, because most of the time you'll get killed. Like, honestly, every time I see a player, I pretty much kill them, even if they're naked, because I don't know, it's just how this game kind of works. See that gunshot, and you want to be cautious around here, because you know, oh, there's a player down there. So, for example, I don't want to move him around a bunch right now. I'm crouching because I don't want to attract his attention. He's on the resources. I have enough time to run away if he comes towards me. So, radiated zone, kill zombies, that's how you get research. Make sure you have a shelter with a sleeping bag so you can spawn there. Avoid players at all costs. Another tip, when I first started, I thought the only way to get resources was off trees. So, to get wood, I would pull out my rock and whack at trees. I would show you guys, but I don't really want to go down there with that player. This is a perfect example of how to be cautious. If you can see, there's a body down there too. But I would whack on trees, and it's really slow to get wood. If you look for something called a wood resource pile, it's a wood stash. You can call it any of those things. Fucking scary players. You're not going to find many around here because it's a really populated area. But in certain areas, there's lots of them. And they give you like 200 wood each. If you find a stone, it gives you usually like 6 metal and a few stones, and it's all useful. Another tip would be craft a hatchet, a stone hatchet, as soon as you can, because it's the same thing as the rock except much faster. And this guy's kinda coming towards me. Excuse me, so I am going to walk away up here. Now another hint. The biggest mistake I think I've made in this game so far was I successfully made a huge base in a really cool location, just like, say like this. Now, the problem with this base was, not that it was overly populated, not that it was oversized, it was perfect and everything, except there was no resources around, or animals. It was pretty much empty. I couldn't find resources or animals. So I starved to death like 4 times right after I built the house. Because look, if you look at my food, it's already down to 1,000. Now, if you watch as I sprint in the bottom right, see how fast it goes down? Once that gets to 0, it starts taking away from my health, and I will start dying. So that's another important thing. That's a good way to lose your items, like, right away. So make sure there's animals around. Like, you haven't seen any animals around here, so you probably wouldn't want to build a house over here. I mean, you could probably find some in the woods down there, but it's not very convenient, especially if it's night, you're starving, you have to run out. I mean, just think of all these things before you place your base. Another really good tip is, I learned this is the worst thing I've done in this game so far. I thought if I went past that tall mountain and walked this way for like 3 hours, I would just get a really isolated spot with lots of resources and no players around. My mistake. If you go past that giant mountain there, like if you go past, there's a road that goes in a loop behind this mountain. If you go past there, you'll get to Hacker Valley, which is good for resources. There's lots of resources there. But if you go past that, there's nothing. Barren land. All there is trees and grass. No resources, no animals, nothing. I walked for 2 hours and got all the way to the corner of the map. And I had to suicide. That's actually why I have nothing on me right now. I had a research kit, an M4, I had some Kevlar and some radiation suits, which really kind of sucked. And that's another thing. If you have good gear and you can't afford the good gear, don't wear it. Like, if you have a full set of Kevlar and an M4, but you don't have much resources, it'll suck a lot more for you when you lose it. So I would suggest making sure you have enough resources to make 2 or 3 sets of whatever you're going to use before you actually take it out. Because, oh, it's getting dark. Because You won't care as much if you die and you can just craft it again right away, but if you're stuck in your house with no items, no way to gather resources, it really sucks. So there you go, guys. That's just my quick guide for players. If you have any other tips, feel free to post it down in the comment section. Here is a wood pile. As you can see, they look like this. They just look like a pile of logs on the ground. Stones just look like big rocks. And these are really good for resources. If you have any other tips, make sure you post it in the comment section. If you want to see more content from me, make sure you subscribe. If you're not subscribed yet, I'm going to be doing more series on this game. I'm uploading a Let's Play with my buddy here soon, and I'm probably doing an overview of the game just in general. If you're thinking about buying it, it's kind of expensive right now to get keys, but it's a really fun game. I would definitely suggest it. Make sure you like this video if you want to see more content about this game. Peace out, guys. Have a good day.